did I teach you?
You are Duke of New York. You're a number one.
I can't hear you.
You are the Duke of New York. You're a number one. Peace, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Inshallah, you can hear me. Let me know if you can. Excellent. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here. I really appreciate the support. Excellent. So much going on in the apocalypse. It's very good to be able to build on it and assuage people's fears based upon the fact that things look like they're going down the blender. However, we've been building on this for so long, and it seems that conspiracy theories are basically just spoiler alerts at this point. You know what I'm saying? As they have basically let us know that everything that we've been building on has not only been true, but it's been right and exact. And those that, in the past may have seen us as being some sort of doomsayers or doomcriers or whatever, were actually the ones basically trying to suppress what any average person can see as being the truth. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, we're at this time where a lot of people are still in denial, but a lot of that is switching up as well. So definitely give yourself pats on the back for being consistent in your world outlook and not being swayed by the influencers that have always been around, striving to basically throw us off our game, make us believe that the things we saying or the things that we seeing ain't really happening. You know what I'm saying? Because they definitely are. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, Sister Kalima. Can you hear me? I'm speaking as loud as I can. Everybody else can hear though. But anybody have any questions about anything before we start? So much. Islam. You're like, where do you start, right? Because they bugging. Yeah, the dolphin killings is coming in due to that guy who made the report about him being kidnapped by the dolphins and him being brought down to the underwater area to help them fortify the city that they're trying to build down there. And specifically, there was a dolphin named Gerald who was basically the head of the project. So yeah, they basically was trying to they basically backtracked the story and found out that it was true. This is why they made laws and stuff for people to not speak to dolphins. If you didn't know, it's a crime. It's a federal, so-called federal crime to do that. Just like in Japan, every so many years they would have wars with dolphins where they would it was in Japan, I believe they do it, and I think they do it in Sweden, where they go into dolphin pods and they just basically go and slaughter them and murder them. You know what I mean? This is a part of the war that governments have with any other life forms that they don't have agreements with that are trying to help uplift fallen humanity. Basically, this is part of their shtick and their spiel and how they go about trying to keep us all enslaved to their governments. Yeah, because in Japan they have a whole thing where they slaughter them just like they do in Sweden and places like that. Like it's a big thing. They get down like that. Um, because they don't want nobody speaking on our behalf to our higher sense. Because when you speak to them, they speak it to your higher registers. They're not just speaking to like you directly. Also, They have the ability to use dolphin frequency as a means to help control, to help express themselves, you know what I'm saying, to one another. Matter of fact, let me draw it real quick. There's a such thing as dolphin frequency, if you didn't know. I'm gonna draw it out for you and then take a picture and then send it to y'all so y'all can see it. This is dolphin frequency, or this is the symbol of dolphin frequency. And what it is it's every animal in the kingdom has a glyph that's associated with it. And those glyphs were used by the ancients in the premillennial reign era to be able to communicate with these things, with these animals and stuff, and speak to them in a language by which they would understand, or you can understand them. And so these glyphs, which were seen as basically like hieroglyphs, it's the same thing with those glyphs that you see like representing the planets, representing the zodiacs. Each one of those is basically a sigil, right? And in the art of sigilmancy, which some believe is a form of divination, well, I'm not going to say it is or it isn't, but within that, they believe that you can focus on the sigil, and with your intense focus and meditation, that you would be able to go into the frequency of what that sigil is, thereby giving you direct access to being able to communicate with the intelligences that exist behind or through that sigil. Okay. So homeboy, when he was taken to the underground city, they allegedly put him in an oxygen bubble that allowed him to do that. Now the question really is, how did they know to target him based on his knowledge on how to do underwater engineering? That's the real question. Like, how did they know that he was the guy that they needed to speak to be able to do this? And the fact that they kept him down there allegedly for so long without any water or food, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't eating fish and stuff down there. So how did that happen? And the way that you know that it did happen was because after that, like I remember being out here after that whole thing was thing, there was a bunch of these different types of trucks. I had never really seen them all along the coast by the beach, because I'm by the water, so I get to see all that. So they was all by the water and all that. You know what I'm saying? So it wouldn't surprise me if they were dealing with trying to find that. But long story short, they found whatever they was looking for with these things, and then basically went down there and attacked them, because they're taking it as an act of war. You see what I'm saying? Because remember, we're all basically hostage. We all basically are being held hostage by world governments. World governments are acting as if they're benevolent to the people, but they all serve whatever entities these governments have been in league with since the so-called resets went down. You know what I'm saying? So most of these governments, these world governments, especially the ones that was formed after the world wars, you know what I'm saying, are all more or less corrupt in some form of fashion. They're all basically terrorizing their populace in some form of fashion. They're all working together at some end to be able to bring about this thing where they can all hopefully perpetually perpetuate themselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we as conscious beings have to really accept and understand, that regardless of how benevolent they seem, they're all dealing with their people in the form of fictions. You know what I'm saying? They're all kind of like manifesting and doing things for their people under the guise of the people themselves being dead already. You know what I mean? So we got to kind of like look at that for what it is, regardless to how benign the um the government can seem to be. they're all in a sense working in concert. You know what I mean? Because all of these world governments right now are falling in some form or the other. You know what I'm saying? The Russian government is basically going through its thing because after World War II, Russia was beset by the Fabians, and those Fabians created a society by which they encouraged people like Lenin and Trotsky and these people to basically go in and murder millions of people, you know what I mean? To the point that they created something that they referred to as the missing generations in Russia, which are basically a group or groups of people who were supposed to be born, right? Who weren't born. And because of that, created such a disproportionate strata within specifically the Russian society that they had to do certain things in order to perpetuate itself so that way it wouldn't go. Remember, Stalin and them niggas killed like 20 million, 30 million people. You know what I'm saying? This is why communism and Marxism, socialism doesn't work, because it's all based on the genocidal maniacs that are the main ones acting like, you know what I mean, killing people in mass that they perceive as being useless eaters is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? In civilized societies, things like homelessness and these types of things should not exist, especially when there's more land to be used than is actually not being used. You know what I'm saying? The problem is they've created this shit. I don't know what happened. The problem is they've created this circumstance by which now everybody is focused on kind of like the wrong things. So it's created this backlash in which now all of the governments themselves are paying for it. You know what I mean? By the fact that they have lost or are losing generations of people, right? So, like I said, with Russia, that's one of the things that's happening. In China, you know what I mean? They want you to think that technological advancement is something that is a good thing in places like China, things like that, when it's really not. You know what I'm saying? The technological advancement that they're going through right now is actually crippling their whole society. Always doing some dumb shit. Let me see. 1 second, y'all. Okay, great. So this is what is basically plaguing all world governments right now. Same thing in Japan. Japan basically is just as much as a homogenic ethno state as the small hat states are. You know what I'm saying? But they are creating a situation where they can't sustain their population either. You know what I mean? So they're falling. So everybody right now is basically falling kind of for the proverbial banana in the tailpipe, and everybody's government is basically at the stage that they're all in somewhat of a free fall. As crazy as it sounds, whether we want to accept it or not, Iran is basically fighting for America. You know what I'm saying? In its own way. You know what I mean? And it's crazy to say that, but the things that they're doing, the psychological operations that they have engaged in this so-called war is really something to be studied. Like, we're going to get into that in a second, but just the other day, just today, they just bombed one of the biggest opioid producing, Adderall producing factories in the whole world, meaning like 80% of the drugs, the opioids, and all of the stuff that we get in those, you know, the ones everybody think it come from China. No, a lot of that stuff come from the small hat state. You know what I mean? That's being bombed into oblivion right now. And that shit just got bombed and destroyed. So what I'm saying is, based on that, that means that a lot of the opioids, 60% of the opioids that have been plaguing the United States are now off the table. You know what I'm saying? That's now gone. Like they there's no way for them to rebuild that in time to keep people um mass inundated with the drugs. There's no way that they're going to be able to build that. So it's pretty much a rizzy for them. You know what I mean? In terms of that. So once they hit their salination plants, that's really going to be it. That's why you see them now scrambling to go to all of these different countries in the world, because it's pretty much a rizzy for them. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to sustain that. What we saw as Gaza, that's what the whole thing is going to be. So they're now trying to invade Lebanon. They're now trying to invade Argentina. They trying to go back to the Ukraine. They trying to do, you know what I mean? They're trying to go into Kenya. But remember, everybody knows that these people are cannibals now. You know what I'm saying? They know that these people are cannibals. They know that they've been kicked out of places ancestrally. They're always expelled because they're always sacrificing children, because that's part of their religion. What you have to understand is that the ancient ones, like we said before, everything that they're doing is based on the myth of their nation. And so in their myths, they believe that everybody else is an animal. So they have the right to do the most horrific things to them and get away with it, because they believe that their rabbis are God. And this was established to them by Freemason Jewish, so-called Yehuda Freemasonic organizations like the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and these types of things. You know what I mean? Which all of them are not. Remember, the thing about these people is that they're not monotheists. That's the trick. The modern ones, right? The ones they call the secular Jews, they are not Taurists. They are not Torah followers. They follow the Talmud and they follow the Zohar and they follow the Kabbalah and Freemasonry and stuff. And all of that stuff says that they're supposed to sacrifice and eat children. That's what it says in their books. You can go and read it. So because they feel they have the right to do that, this is why it winds up in things like the Epstein files and all of that. So when we were saying this back in the days, everybody was trying to say that we was crazy and all of that. However, when they actually have it in stone, like people have made architecture, statues to them doing this. You understand? That's why they was all kicked out. So that's why they keep being expelled. And that's why they keep having to take other people's identity, because every time their identity gets exposed, they have to then, in a sense, conform themselves into a new identity that they then can use. Because remember, in their religion, just like in the Muslim religion, they have this thing called taqiyya, where you have the right to lie about what it is that you are. So if you have to deny that you are a Muslim or a Jew or something like that because of persecution or whatever, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to lie to the Goyim, right, in the Judaic religion. And just like in the Muslim religion, you're allowed to lie to anybody that they perceive as an unbeliever. So as much as we are Moors and Muslims and stuff, the traditional Muslims don't see us as um as being a part of them. They see us as unbelievers too. You understand what I'm saying? That's what you have to understand. They see us as shirk. The fact that we look at the Prophet Nubuju Ali, the way that we look at him and the way that we go about it, and because he never spoke to us about keeping Ramadan or doing any of the other stuff that they be doing, they don't see us as being a part of them. They see us as form of what they call syncretic Islam, syncretic Islamists. So in that, if it was to go down and they had to do like a jihad or whatever, they would have that against us too, just so that way you know. You understand what I'm saying? That's why the Yehudas use them, the Muslims, as a means to go in and help destroy certain countries, so that way they can dilute the population of those countries, which then means that they can come in, buy everything on pennies for the dollar, and then create areas for the Muslims to live while they come in, buy up everything, and then basically rule from the shadows, or rule as the landowners and stuff. Because according to them, they wasn't supposed to, they part of their expulsion was to say that they was never supposed to own no land because of the very thing I'm talking about. You understand? Okay, so this is the symbol for dolphin frequency. Next to it is a movie. I don't know if y'all ever seen this movie. You should check it out. It's called Under the Silver Lake. It stars Andrew Garfield, who played the Amazing Spider-Man in the movie. Matter of fact, there's a scene in this movie where he wakes up off the couch and he puts his hand on the table and a Spider-Man comic sticks to his hand. This movie is all about the stuff we talking about in terms of the secret underbelly of Hollywood and bunkers and Freemasons and child sacrifice, and how most celebrities are escorts. The bigger they are, the higher they get charged, the higher they get slutted out to be escorts, or today what they would call yacht girls or yacht boys. This movie is very, very telling in that. Matter of fact, when it came out, they actually downplayed it and made sure that only certain theaters had it, and then they kind of like just disappeared it real quick. So if you haven't seen it, you should check it out because it's very, very telling and it's very thing. Matter of fact, there's a scene in it where he meets the songwriter, and the songwriter basically goes in and lets him know how all of the songs that we've been listening to all of these years was basically all written by the same demon. And as he's talking, he's going from song to song, from song to song. It's ill. And he basically just lets everybody know what we've been saying, that all of these songs is the same. That's why Digital Underground had that song All Around the World is the same song. In that movie that Digital Underground did with Dan Aykroyd, the judge that Dan Aykroyd is playing actually looks like the songwriter in this movie. So you should definitely check this movie. It's got the White Rabbit in it. It got the underground clubs that exist under cemeteries where they use tombstones as tables and stuff. It's crazy. So definitely do the knowledge to that if you can. Yeah, so this is the dolphin frequency. So when you look at this and you're supposed to stare at this after your meditation, you basically get taken into the dolphin frequency allegedly to then speak with or interact with what they refer to as hyperspace dolphins. Me personally, I did it and it worked. You know what I mean? It worked really well. And it was really a bugged out experience. And it was almost so quick, but it seemed so long that it was crazy. Then the other side is if you take this symbol and you turn it upside down, that becomes shark frequency. That you need to really be careful with because sharks is the opposites of dolphins. So they have a whole different predatory nature in the experience. So you got to do the knowledge. Yeah, you could look like you could imprint it in your mind before you meet the dolphins or swim with the dolphins, or you could put it in like the palm of your hand. You know what I mean? Draw it in the palm of your hand, and then when you meet or going to sleep the dolphin, show it to the dolphin, see what the dolphin tell you. You know what I mean? But you got to be careful because you know a lot of them people in SeaWorld that be with them dolphins are part of the intelligence agency to watch people like you and us from really interacting with them. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's deep. These dolphins have a whole, like I said, they have whole city type structures. You know what I'm saying? They have whole enclaves, you know, and it's different type. Everybody think you see a dolphin, it's the same. There's only one type. Like there's different types of dolphins out there, some that you've never even seen. And then, like I said, they have higher aspects of themselves, but they refer to again as hyperspace dolphins, which then are who exist in the outer realms and stuff, in the astral plane. You understand what I'm saying? Who then travel or swim through what we would perceive as the time stream. You understand what I'm saying? So they have a different level of communication that all takes place simultaneously, which can be activated based on the clicks. Like listen to a dolphin click, and then listen to those clans or tribes, certain indigenous tribes in Africa and places like that speak with the clicks and all of that. Like all of that is the same. It's just that we're on land and they're not, but we share a lot of the same ancestral spirit type connections. You know what I'm saying? The one that I met in the hyperspace name was XX Delmaron. At least that's what he said his name was. You know what I'm saying? And it was really bugged out. My personal experience with it. But yeah, so definitely check this movie out if you haven't already. And it gets into, like I said, all of these things that are now mainstream. Now we done read about in the Epstein files. It's like every part of the movie got an element of it in it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so there's that. So then, like I said, dealing with this war that's happening, like I said, it's on a whole different level. They dealing with a whole different level of psychological operation. And their whole goal, when I say they, I'm talking about the Iranian government, the Persian government, is that their whole goal is to make this nigga look like a fool and make Israel and them look like fools, which they are. They're really doing it. Every day they say some lie, they're just really making themselves look more and more stupid. I mean, they doing like Lego videos, like you know what I'm saying? Like they bugging with these people, like they doing wild shit to appeal to the basic premise of human interaction. And they're using things, like I said, they're using the Lego videos. They even had a rapper the other day, and the rap that this dude was doing was crazy, which shows that they're really tuned in to the so-called hip-hop culture thing more than I would even have thought prior to this conflict manifesting. So it's definitely something going on, and they're specifically striving to appeal to the original people of America, who is us. Now when they're talking about death to America, like me personally, I don't think they're really being indiscriminate. I think they're saying death to the whole understanding. But see, to me, if you're gonna do that, you need to be more specific. Like, you know what I mean? Death to the US or whatever, that's what you want to say. However, we as the individuals who have been under occupation by these people for mad long, just because somebody is coming out and saying and doing that, we got to look at the deeds of these people. But when you start looking at the deeds of what these people have done over the years, it's really kind of crazy how they've kind of like been out here low key, like stumping for people. Now, I'm not down for a lot of the shit that they be doing. However, they're not at war with me. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're saying now. I'm just going by what they're saying. They're not at war with me. They're at war with the people who've been trying to take over them from allegedly the destruction of the second temple, right? Which is ironic because it was a Persian who freed them and told them that they could go back and create their society. And then their society went back, allegedly. And then instead of following the laws that was given to them by the creator, they decided to go back and follow the laws given to them by the Satanists amongst them, who wanted to go back to the old ways of child sacrifice and all of that, i.e. the Sanhedrin and the rest of these people. So they don't really have the moral standing that they do. Just like, Iran is kind of crazy because they still be allowing the mullahs and all that. They still be allowing child marriage and all of that. That's not cool. That's not something. I mean, what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? Yet they've created a difference by their actions in the minds of the people, because nobody wants their children to go and die for a country that said that they're not even going to send their own people. They're not even going to send any of their own people to do this so-called ground invasion that they say they want to do. So that alone is crazy. So what the hell are we, not us, but what the hell are the people there for if that's what they're going to do? That's crazy, right? But they've been doing wild stuff. Like the whole thing started when they burned effigies of Baal. And then all around the world, people started burning effigies of Baal, which is a good thing. You understand? But remember, Baal is in Wall Street. They got that image of the bull, and they got a little girl that's in front of it. I'm gonna show that in a minute. But they got that image of the bull, like that bull in Wall Street. The bull market is the Baal market. This is them. So when they started burning this nigga, that was them doing a full frontal attack on the god of the so-called small hats, because that's who they really worshiping. You understand? That's who they serve. That's who Epstein and all of these niggas, that's who they really serve. They're really ancient henotheists. They're not monotheists. They're henotheists, which means that they have a god that they worship, but then it's a god with other gods. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just one of the gods that they deal with, but he's the main one. And that is their god. So when they burnt their god, that was them declaring war on them on the astral. Because this is what they worship. This is what they give bodies to, blood to, children to. You understand? So that was a pre-attack. So it was inept. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, they definitely gonna go at these niggas now. Because this has to be addressed, right? So they start doing that. But see, the Israelis can't burn no image of Muhammad or anything like that, because allegedly those images don't exist, because the Pale Arabs have their own version of it. But remember, the Pale Arabs, their version of Allah is really Hubal, right? Who is like the brother of Baal. So this is like a internal like war between them. Then remember, during the 1979 Iran hostage crisis, they released 13 Black American hostages and kept the other ones, kept all of the white ones though. They kept all of the white hostages and let all the melanated American hostages go. Because they said, look, we already know that these devils is oppressing you in your own country, so we ain't gonna be like them. And they've always been on it like that. You understand what I'm saying? Remember, these niggas was the first ones. Then the other day, according to recent media reports, indicate that images have circulated showing a banner in Tehran, Iran, commemorating the late rapper, community activist Nipsey Hussle on the anniversary of his death. Solidarity gathering. Images shared online appear to show a banner in Iran featuring Nipsey Hussle alongside with phrases like the marathon continues. The marathon continues with references to Malcolm X. And remember, Nipsey used to wear a chain with Malcolm X on it. Remember? Remember that. Then he says that Nipsey was a martyr. Reports suggest that the participants in the gatherings honored Nipsey Hussle as a martyr and used the event to express solidarity in opposition to the United States government, claiming that official narratives surrounding his death of other Black martyrs are distorted. What? Now we know the whole murder or alleged murder of him was a conspiracy, right? We know what that was. But remember, he used to rock an image of Malcolm X, a chain with Malcolm X on it. But remember, the Persians were the first people in the world to put Malcolm X on a mail stamp, on their own stamp. Do the knowledge. So look at what's going on. Look at how they're psychologically throwing kites out there to everybody in America that's not Caucasian. Do the knowledge to it. I'm not saying you need to support them. I'm not saying you need to whatever. I'm just saying the psychological operation that is going on with this shit is next level. I've never seen it when it comes to war. Whether it be this, whether it be the Lego videos, whether it be the Iranian rappers with the videos, like it's crazy. It's crazy. Then when I saw this, I was like, yo, these niggas is on a whole nother level. I see why this nigga Hegseth and Pegseth and the rest of these niggas is going crazy behind this. Cause this is unheard of. I ain't never seen all of the years I don't watch these niggas go to war. I ain't never seen nothing like this. Like real talk. Like real talk. Like this is bugged out. Hold up. Give me a second to pull it up. So they got they black slaves in media working overtime. Now listen to what I'm saying. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you need to support Iran. I'm saying that Iran is using a level of psychological warfare that makes it hard for you to hate on them. That's what I'm saying. You dig? That's all I'm saying. It's making it harder for you to hate on them because we know that all of these niggas in the government is pedophiles. They're all pedophiles. They just fired Pam Bondi. Remember, they just fired this bitch for not protecting the pedophiles enough. It's under her watch that the whole thing done went on. That the whole Epstein law done been passed. So they got to produce this stuff, or they're in violation of their own law. So this nigga just hired the same defense attorney that helped get him off from the document debacle that they had him wrapped up in. Remember that? This the nigga that helped get him off, right? So he's now basically the new Secretary General, and now he's saying, look, we not gonna release this, and that. But the problem is that means that you gotta violate your own law. How y'all gonna do that? And then still claim legitimacy as a government. You can't do it. It can't be done. You just can't do it at this point. You understand? Like it's over. So something gotta give. Matter of fact, like I said, even if they don't, the millions of documents that's already on, niggas are still going through them. They still redacting them. There's a whole app that they creating now that all you gotta do is put it in and it'll redact all of the names that's on the joint. So at some point, somebody got to get prosecuted for something. You understand? Yeah. So then this was crazy. This was when I saw this, I was like, wow. This is they on some whole other shit right now. Like for real. Like this ain't never been. I ain't even know it was on it like that. Happy 50th birthday to a legend. This is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. This was the head. He was the president of Iran at one point. They just allegedly killed him a little while ago. But Ahmadinejad said, happy 50th birthday to a legend. As Tupac would say himself, people die, but legends live forever. Because any day they'll push the button and come in like Malcolm X or Bobby Hutton. What? You mentioning Bobby Hutton? I ain't even know these niggas knew about these niggas like that. It's black people that don't know who Bobby Hutton is. You understand? Then they got a photo of Iran dedicating a missile meant for U.S. Israel to Tupac currently going viral. No, it is not an AI photo. And they put in memory of Tupac, Illuminati. Look, got the black people on it. Look, got the got the melanated Statue of Liberty on it. Like, what is going on? Do you understand the level of spiritual warfare with that? Remember, this nigga Tupac had a song called Bomb First. Yo, on the Machiavelli album, he had a song called Bomb First. Think about it. On the on the Seventh Day Illuminati album. You understand? You understand? But the thing is, they not even, I thought that too. They want us to put in work, but they not even promoting it like that. They basically making it seem like, look, we know that they got y'all niggas hostage. We gonna hold this down while y'all figure out what y'all gonna do. That's what it seemed like to me. You understand? This is what it seemed like to me. There's no way that they putting the Don Illuminati on the missiles that's bombing and destroying the opioid factories, my nigga. Like, think about this, bro. Think about what's going on a whole psychological, spiritual, psycho-spiritual level. You ain't never seen this type of warfare. Not in my life, and I done lived through many wars, both known and unknown. You ain't never seen this. So that's what I'm saying. This level of the game, they never really thought of. They didn't think past it. And then what's happening is that this is causing niggas that's already in the army. They like, nah, we not doing it, son. We not fighting. We not going. So they keep running through generals. They keep having generals that they gotta run through now, because none of the generals is compliant for the ground invasion. They not feeling it. So they keep firing niggas that's saying, no, this is insane. What are y'all niggas doing? This is not going to work. And they're right. And they're right. But this nigga is so crazy. This nigga Donnie is so insane in the membrane. He really think that they got some sort of win, regardless to how much he's being showed that they don't. He's being shown every day that they don't have any wins in the situation. And now Iran won't let them out of it. They won't let them out. They're trapped in this. They're trapped in the game. Which was another Tupac song. They trapped in the game, y'all. They can't get out. They looking for the off-ramp. They can't get out. And then, like I told you, Benny and these niggas ain't helping them. First of all, Benny dead. You know what I'm saying? Benny Netanyahu, that nigga's dead. So the robot or the life model decoy or whatever y'all showing with this nigga, whatever he's saying, that's a dead man talking. He already out of here. You don't think they know that? That nigga that you saw come to, that's not him. He's been dead. So, and like I said, they're bombing these niggas literally into the Stone Age, to the point where they said the other day, said, look, we're going to bomb y'all into the Stone Age. Then the head of the Iranians said, look, Stone Age, he said, well, y'all niggas was in the caves. He said, well, your ancestors was in the caves, walking on all fours. We was building civilizations. The only people going back to the Stone Age is you and the small hats. Who that sound like? Who that sound like? That's what we've been saying. That's what we've been saying. So all I'm saying is this is not something that they're going to be able to get out of. They can't. They're locked in. And that's the problem. Let's say they do go in and take the island. They're not going to be able to hold that shit. They're bombing these niggas out of the sky. This is the greatest military in the world I'm talking about they doing this to. You understand? Nobody know how to kill people like the U.S. military. You understand? These niggas been killing babies, all this type of shit for mad long, but that's the problem. They always picked on people that didn't have their shit together, or that depended on them for their weapons, or that they had some sort of going into. Because remember, this is also about the fact that there's no central bank in the Islamic Republic. Y'all know that, right? There's no Rothschild bank there. That's one of the only there in Russia and China. Maybe not China. And China. Those are the only ones there's no central bank in there. So they don't get no money off these niggas. No money. None. So everything that they got, they literally built from the mud. You understand? So you see what I'm saying? So this is them. This is them. See the bull? That's bull. See the child? See how it's about to run over the child? This is a homage. This is a homage to child sacrifice. When you go around Wall Street, you'll find a bunch of sculptures of people coming out of the manholes stealing children. Anybody that been to Wall Street, you would know that. And remember, Wall Street, New York is a failed state at this point. They hired, they got y'all, not us, but them liberal, white, feminine, Marxist, communist bitches. They got all of them to fight to get this devil Mandami in there. A millionaire communist. That's what I'm trying to tell you. All of these communists y'all niggas be bringing in, they're all millionaires. They're not about, communism is not about sharing your wealth with everybody. Communism is about the niggas at the top taking everything from you, dividing it up amongst themselves, and then giving you the crumbs off the table. So this nigga is so dirty. They got Cardi B. They always use their whores. They always use their political whores to come out and buck dance and try to mind control the unwashed masses with their agenda. So now they're trying to get that chick, Cardi B, to come up with a jingle, to come up with a song that they can sell the daycare scam that they don't already expose in Minnesota. They now popping it off in New York. While this is happening, there's an epidemic of Jewish people, right? Small hats that's out there swindling deeds and moving in and creating fake deeds to steal the houses of original people in Brooklyn and other areas, Brooklyn, Queens, and in other areas. It's taking place right now. Is Mandami going to do anything about it? No, because he's down with it. His wife is a devout racist. Like all communists are racists. All communists want to see any melanated people dead. His wife she stay deleting old tweets that they finding where she calling niggas and all of this other type of shit. Meanwhile, this nigga Madani with his fake Muslim asses out there doing dawah in the street, putting batteries in the Muslims' back, right? And they down with it because they're, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're basically willing to be pawns in the game. Why? Because he was financed by the Muslim Brotherhood. I've done videos on these niggas, B. Obama was a part of the Muslim Brotherhood to put all of these Muslims. The mayor of London right now is in free fall. Let me show you what they're doing in London right now, bro. They going straight crusade on these niggas. In London right now, they're going straight Templar crusader on you, on them niggas. Look, this is them in London right now. See this flag? Hold up. They not playing. Niggas is tired. They tired of their daughters getting raped. They tired of they can't post what they want on Facebook without niggas trying to come and arrest them for tweets and their opinion on Facebook. Meanwhile, is gangs of so-called Muslims out there raping little girls, trying to make laws against dogs, because you know Muslims hate dogs. I don't know if y'all know that. Them pale Arab Muslims, them Wahhabis, they hate dogs. And what's happening is the dogs, they got these big mastiffs. They importing big mastiffs and Caucasian, I forget the name of them dogs, but it's these huge dogs that they bringing in from the Caucasus and places like that to protect their children from being raped by these foreigners. They not playing. They're going crazy out there right now. Hold up, let me bring this up. They going straight crusader on you niggas. They going straight crusades on these niggas right now. They not playing. Them white boys is being forced out with the Muslim mayor. Then Charles, the king, right? He, for the first time ever in Easter, he ain't make no address. But at the same time, he came out and was bigging up the Muslims for Ramadan. So they are completely done with these niggas in England. Boom. You see that? See that black flag with the red cross right next to the Union Jack? When them white European niggas start flying these flags, it's over. I'm telling you. They think it's going to be a cakewalk with the Muslims, but the Muslims, they not as organized as these white boys out there. I'm telling you. The Muslims got the police and them on their side because of the government, Starmer and them. But see, Starmer and them aren't even really communists. They use communism, they use Marxism, they use socialism, but they're really not any of that. These are just means to an end for them. You understand? Because all of these niggas are really the opposite of what they say they are. They're all worshiping ancient infernal deities. That's what they all have in common. But a lot of those deities don't get along with one another. And so each one is using its devotees as a means to fight against the other ones. You understand? This is how they mean to take control of the main hub of whatever it is they trying to control out there, namely the people and the fate of the country. Because like I said, none of them are what they say they are. They're all different. So if they say they're communists, they're really nihilists. If they say they're Democrats, they're really in the uniparty. If they saying they're Republicans, they're usually neocons or what you call it, or ultra conservatives. You see what I'm saying? It's all a scam. They just use these terms as a means to get the unwashed masses to believe in the rhetoric bullshit that they're trying to bestow on everybody. But that's not really what they are. London is being run and has been run through the Tavistock Institute and many other institutes. These institutes were all basically came out of a group of 5 people. At the time that it was founded by a civil servant, a baron, and like one person from military, and then like 2 other people. I forget what their occupations were. One I think was an essayist, and the other one was like somebody else. Anyway, they got together in a room one day and they decided that they were going to label themselves and pattern themselves as the ones who would bring about change throughout so-called brutish society at the time. So they were okay with everything that was happening in terms of the brutish people basically creating an empire off of drugs and all of that, so long as they were able to get the funding that they could use to be able to start to change the society into the society that they themselves wanted to be. One thing about aristocracy and people with money is they like to always feel like they are part of some shit that everybody else is not a part of. They always want to feel like they are a part of some sort of elite class or some sort of elite type of thinking or way of being that is so above everybody else that they themselves are the only ones that can actively participate in it, and that everybody who are not down with them are basically like subhuman. That whole ideology again comes from the Talmud. It comes from the Zohar. It comes from the story of the oven of, what was it called? The oven of Rachni. Have y'all ever heard that story? Have y'all ever heard that story? Yes, the oven of Rachni. Have you ever heard that? See, this is what I'm saying, man. Like so like me personally, I grew up in Crown Heights. You know what I'm saying? Um, when my mother and my father broke up, I grew up right there on President Street between New York and Nostrand. You know what I'm saying? Back when the whole hood was full of melanated people and all of the small hats was like on the outsides of us. And every couple of days they would come to try to like buy my grandmother's house with cash type shit. She would always be cursing them out. So I would look forward to the days when I would hear them coming or see them outside. I would call them. I'd be like, "Yo, Davey, the Jews is here. They here." Because I would love to see her just curse these niggas out and run them. And she would throw water from the roof, from the window at them. She would throw rocks at them and shit. Like, it was great. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what they was trying to do, you know, for as long as I can remember, coming in and buy up everybody's crib, because they always wanted the brownstones and stuff that our people lived in. Because back then, so-called melanated home ownership was at an all-time high. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, being in the vicinity of those people, I being naturally curious, I would like sometimes like see some of the like Jewish kids and stuff, and we would like run up on them and like ask them, ask them shit, and you know what I mean, like low key talk to them or whatever. So one day when I was really into the science, I was walking home through on the outside of Prospect Park on my way back to the hood, right? And I had passed by a so-called synagogue, right, which again was built by Moorish people, but these niggas had taken over. Anyway, out front was all of these books, was all of these small hat books just laying there. So I took all of them joints back to the crib, lugged them all the way back to the crib, and then the next day I went to the library and got a Hebrew translated dictionary. So one of the first stories I read was about the oven of Rachni, right? So the oven of Rachni story was basically this. Let's see if I got the joint. Pull it up. So what it basically was there was a dispute. There was a rabbi named Eliezer, right? And he had an oven. But the thing with the oven, they said that the oven was impure, right? But Elijah was like, nah, I can use this oven because God said that this oven is good. So he then did miracles with the oven, right? So he was able to produce this miracle with the oven. And then one of the rabbis was like, yeah, but that's not really a miracle. Then he did it again, right? Then another rabbi came, was like, yeah, but that don't really count neither, because he gave him some bullshit story about it. Then another rabbi, then he produced another miracle with the oven, right? Then the last joint he did, God himself, right? The story says God himself manifested and said, no, the oven is good. Rachni, Raknai, came down and said, no, the oven is good. You can use the oven to bake the matzah bread or whatever. And then when the dude said, look, even God said that it's true, that the oven is good, the rabbi said, yeah, but that's not in the Talmud. So it's really about what we say. And then he said, God acquiesced and said, my children have bested me. So in that was basically them saying that the rabbi that wrote it, that God himself could manifest and come down and say what is true and what is not. But if the rabbi and the Talmud and the Zohar don't agree with it, then it's not true. So what that says is that the rabbi, the Sadducees, the Pharisees is God, and that they themselves have the right over God to say what is true, what is good, what is not. You understand? Indeed, Sister Kalima, it is Act 9 as well. You understand? That's what they believe. So in that's when they had the stranglehold over the community from that point on. That's why they could kill messiahs, kill prophets, kill whoever they want to, murder, rape, kill children. Now, again, this has nothing to do with the greater so-called small hat population, right? This don't have nothing to do with the ones that's not with that. We only talking about the ones that's with that, and that's usually the ones who, again, don't even deal with the Torah. They're not even in that. When they say that they in there, when the ones that's on welfare, because nobody is on welfare more than them. So when the ones that say that they in welfare and doing all of what they doing is doing that, they not in there, and they say they at home, they gotta be home to read the Torah all day. They not reading the Torah, yo. They don't even rock with that shit. They only dealing with the Talmud, with the Kabbalah, and the Zohar. That's what they dealing with. They not dealing with nothing else. They in the tunnels, under the synagogues, doing the blood rituals, trying to create golems. Like, this is what they do. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not talking about the ones that's actually following what they believe is the law of Moses and all that. You understand? Because remember, Moses himself, according to their stories, was really an Egyptian. You understand what I'm saying? Jew is short for Judah. And the Judites, they say you couldn't tell the Judites from the Egyptians. So that means that they was all basically the same people. But customarily, they were different. You understand? So going back to, I say all of that to say that these tenets that they are following, that they use to establish the state of Israel and create communism and feminism and Marxism and all that type of stuff, right? One of the greatest quotes of Karl Marx says, always accuse the enemy of what you yourself are doing. You understand? And through Marxism, they killed, again, over 50 million people. Bolshevism, right? The Bolsheviks, all homosexuals, right? All the Bolsheviks, they were all homosexuals. They raped and killed as many people as they could and created rape camps where they specifically was trying to rape and mutilate the men. They would burn the women. They would impale the children. This is how sick these niggas are. You understand? So all of these things, right? Going back to England now, all of these things were perpetuated by a class of Gentiles, believe it or not. And they called themselves, as I said before, we went through this, they referred to themselves as the Fabian Society, after Fabius, who was a general who fought against Hannibal, our ancestor Hannibal, and the illustrious Carthago, aka Carthagid, aka Carthaginians. And he was famous, Fabius was famous because he was basically successful at warring with Hannibal and all of them, because what he did was he practiced the war tactic of exhaustion, where you get the enemy to exhaust itself and its resources to the point that it can't really continue as a actual state outside of the war. So you keep doing things to exhaust the enemy to the point that it can only exist in a state of war. Once you have them in a perpetual state of war, you have now crippled their actual ability to govern and rule whatever state that they are trying to maintain. You understand? So this right here on the left was the first logo of the Fabian Society. As you see, it's a wolf, right? With sheep's clothing, with a sheep strapped to its back. So that tells you off top what these niggas was really about. You understand? They were about the overall destruction and the abolishment of private property and the disillusion of humanity as a sentient being to further the ends of the few of them, that they would be able to not only control but literally govern over who got to live and who got to die. One of the greatest proponents of the Fabian Society was a dude named George Bernard Shaw, whom you see here holding the nail as they tried to beat the world. This is the world on an anvil, right? Trying to beat the world into submission. Many people were a part of the Fabian Society and still are, like Starmer, the guy who runs England right now. He is a Fabianist. You can go to the Fabian Society website and look up all of the prominent Fabians throughout history, and you will see it's everyone whom they have told you were the so-called enlightened class of modern history. Whether it be Gandhi, whether it be Annie Besant, who started the Theosophic Society, whether it be Margaret Sanger, whether it be Aldous Huxley, it goes on and on and on. The first president of Korea, it goes on and on. You will be amazed at how many of these niggas was Fabianists. One of the only people who rebelled against them was this dude right here. You know who this is right here? Or who this is supposed to be? And you see all of these are all of the people of the Enlightenment. You see how they're all praying before the books of the Fabianists? In the middle, you see that? You see how it's shaped? The books are shaped like an oven. You see that? It's like a brick oven, but all of these are the Fabian books. And you see how they're all praying to them. Except this nigga in the end. You know who this is supposed to be? One of the only people who was against them. H.G. Wells. The dude who wrote The Time Machine. You know who else was against them? George Orwell, the guy who wrote 1984. Because did you know that the eugenics movement was started by Fabianists? The same eugenics movement that said that black people and phrenology and all of that type of stuff, all of that was Fabianists. All of that was these niggas. When Trotsky and Lenin and them went out and did their thing and massacred, destroyed all of them people. Yes, War of the Worlds as well. When he went out and did that, the Fabianists wrote papers on how progressive the Soviet Union actually was. George Bernard Shaw did actual videos where he discussed that a certain portion of all the human populations needed to be extinct. Yes. You can look it up. He's on video where he's going in and talking about how, yes, it's great that a certain group of population needs to be gotten rid of, especially if they're not producing labor to the upper class. And so many affluent people who came from means decided that this was a good thing. So the Fabianists, none of them actually really held any political power. What they did, though, was had the ability to write papers and create doctrine that they then could put through things like the London Institute, which became a hotbed of for the Fabianists, which allowed them to go in and change the way that intellectualism and education was being spun to the new generations. So that way, those generations could grow up with the idea, especially if they were from affluent means, that they could rise to power, become part of the society, create their own papers, and eventually get those papers to be added to the foundation of what could be legislation that could actually help them move forward. So the idea of the Fabianists, which made them different than the Sabbatians, was that they decided that it was better to play the long game, right? So we're not going to look at having any of this happen in our lifetime. But within 2 to 3 generations, we can get enough people in political power. That way, by 3 generations after that, we'll have implemented everything that we're doing now then. And they can carry out the work. You understand? They played the long game. So they made this stained glass to commemorate them. See the demon right here? See the mouth? See the eyes? Right? So this stained glass, when people found out what they was really about, people started to rebel against anybody that was Fabian. So they had to go underground for a generation. And then a generation later, then they took this thing down. This thing had to be hid because it became a trophy for different societies that was trying to fight against them. And eventually they had to hide it. So it was gone for a long time. Then it wound up popping up in Germany, I think. And then eventually it was gone again. Then somehow it wound up in Arizona. Then from Arizona, it wound up going to another place, and then eventually wound up in Sotheby's. Somebody bought it. Kimberly said, why play the long game? They're not altruistic. They made dynamic deals of false immortality. Yes, but they knew they themselves, they weren't a part of the power structure at the beginning. So they had to, again, follow the tactics of Fabius, which was that we would exhaust the enemy over time, get the enemy to eventually cannibalize itself, and in some instances, get the enemy to fund what we're doing, which is why they were able to get into the law practices. Then they took over the Barrister Association. You know who that is. The Barrister Accrediting Registry, who itself was founded as a insurgency left behind after the war of 1812 and the so-called Civil War, when those British soldiers were left and they incorporated, took over the courts in the United States, right? And basically made them all under admiralty and equity, which then gave the brutish law system the ability to flourish here in the States. That was a part of the Fabian plan. That's why we were never taught about Fabian. See, we're always taught about Freemasons. We're always taught about Satanists. We're always taught about these things, but they never talked to us about the Fabians. They never talked to us about the Sabbatians. The very word sabotage comes from Sabbatine. You understand? They made the word after these niggas and the Frankists, which we talked about a couple of videos ago. Well, I went into all three. But this one specifically is that. And you see how the world, as they have the world here, it's all in red. You see that? So eventually they wound up finding it, and they wound up bringing it back to Britain. And one of the Fabianists in modern era found it and was there at the ceremony. His name is Tony Blair. Remember the guy who was working with George Bush in the fake Iran-Iraq war? Remember that guy? Well, he was a Fabianist. He was down with it, and he helped commemorate it when they brought it back to whatever college institution, university institution they committed it to, which was, I think, was a Fabian university itself. So all Fabians are eugenicists. All Fabian eugenicists are also communist Marxists. They're all elitist classists. They're all elitist classist nihilists, and they're all social engineers. They are there to destroy humanity. This is their job. This is what they feel that their job is. So because they couldn't be born as people of the small hat side, they created their own Gentile version of it. You understand? So whenever you see somebody like Mondani or somebody who is there and they start to implement things that are there that seem to be destroying the society that they have been voted in to help, 10 chances to 1 the Fabian Society is a part of it. You understand? They are following Fabian doctrine, which is also Frankist doctrine, which is also Sabbatian doctrine, which is also small hat doctrine. Yes, this was their logo. But then what happened was people started to catch on, like this ain't a good society to be a part of. So they flipped it. People was like, nah, this can't be a good society. Look at their logo. But this is how blatant they was with it. That's what I'm trying to say too. Like, how could you look at this and think that this is a good thing? This is a good society that's going to help people. Why would you think that? They believe in what they call staunch amorality. The type of amorality where nothing is beautiful. Everything is ugly. That's why in the communist society, there was at one point everything was gray and all of that. That's why when corporations take over shit, it always turns into something bland and something that's not cool and all of that. Because they're all following Fabian doctrine. Their goal is to take over everything without you realizing it. And also educating you on why them doing it this way is important and why you should be down with it. This is them. This is their world outlook. This is what they've inspired, enforced the world to be down with. You understand? They are literally the wolf in sheep's clothing, which is why they made it their actual logo. And then when people started to catch on as to the horrific nature of what the logo suggested, they started to change it. They had to change it. So the people that's destroying all of these cities, the Democrats and these niggas, Newscomb, Mondami, all of these niggas is Fabians, among other things. You understand? Remember, they do not believe in you having anything that could prosper you. Anything that you have should be there for them. So they went from that logo to this one. And then eventually they settled on, so they went from that logo and then eventually settled on for some years, and that didn't work. And then they eventually settled on the one they have now. So they went with the turtle, right? Because remember, like the turtle, slow and steady win the race, right? And what is the motto? When I strike hard, right? So that wasn't good enough for them because the turtle also represented the ancient peoples of America. So they really wasn't trying to rock with that. So eventually they went for this bland bullshit that you see right here, which is the one that they got today. So when you go on the Fabian Society website or anything like that, this is what you're going to see them with today. They are behind MI6. They infiltrated MI6, MI5. They are a part of the Tavistock Institute. They consult CIA. They all of these niggas. Everybody is down with these niggas. This is the one society that they don't really talk about because it's not necessarily a secret society. It's an open secret society like the Vatican that uses academics as a means to turn people to its end and initiate people through their diplomas instead of their degrees. You understand? So whenever you see them be talking and be using certain word structures and stuff like that, all of that is coming from them. All of that is coming from how they've been indoctrinated. The DNC is basically Fabian light. You know what I mean? Like they all down with it. All of these black boule niggas, like this devil. Look at what this devil said. It's classic Fabian right here. Classic Fabian rhetoric right here. They want to take us back to no income tax, no regulations. Earn what you want. Family inherits everything. What? Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? Joy Reid, who would not want that? Only a communist, only a devil would want the opposite of that. But you can tell she's down. Look at the blonde hair, right? Look at the bald head. This is what they do. They make these chicks shave their heads. What do small hat women have to do when they join and get married to the society? Don't they have to shave their heads? Don't they have to wear wigs? Isn't that part of the ritual? It is, right? Exactly. This is how you know. You know them from their signs, their symbols, and their rituals, regardless to what color they are. Cardi B is a mouthpiece for the devil. You understand what I'm saying? So the devil is now using her to create a song that she can use to market to people so that way they can become a part of a daycare so that way a city of over 33 million people can all petition to be a part of a free daycare system that can only support 2,000 people. And so they're going to divert money from all the other systems that they don't have to support this scam. So if you're a scammer, what you would do is you would go and apply to open a daycare so that way you can get the surplus funds that this commie Mandami wants to funnel to you so that way they don't have to pay for upkeeping the trains or anything else. So that way the system can fall into disrepair so that way the entire state can fall into receivership because anybody with money is going to leave. Anybody left that has money is going to have their money taken from them, so that way the state can take your money and give it to people who are under its daycare programs and its free government assistant programs. This is why when the nigga said we have to let go of the rugged independence and accept the warmth of collectivism. Collectivism is communism. Communism is the end of free ownership. The other day they was going in on Jay-Z and was saying, oh, well, they mad at me because I'm a capitalist. No, capitalism is not the issue. Anybody telling you that capitalism is evil or this or that is most likely an agent or a communist or does not understand modern economics. You can be a socialist in a capitalist society, but you cannot be a capitalist in a socialist society, period. Capitalism is the way that we brought ourselves out of bondage by owning things, by building things, by controlling things, by giving each other employment. They want you to believe that their version of capitalism is all versions of capitalism, and that's not true. When they forbid us to put our money in their banks, right? What did we do? We created our own banks. What do? We created what they call blind pigs, which were secret enclaves, sometimes after hours joints and stuff, that could also serve as a place for people to hold their money. And because we did that, when the white man went into the Depression, when he stole everybody's money, we were millionaires because we were not a part of that version of the communism that they were using to control their populace, because through their rules and regulations of fake capitalism, we were excluded from that. So that forced us to what? Build our own. And we thrived and we owned way more property than we did since we was actually running the country. So what did they do? They had to find a way to get us to go back under their version of it. And so what did they do? They got Fabianists, communists like Michael Luther King, right? And the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, right? And all of the other fake movements that they created to help denationalize us further through the Bull Society, right? And the Black Freemason societies, right? To force us to get into an adversarial position with these people, so that way we would fight to integrate into their failing system. And once we did that, what did they do? They took all of the money that we left behind on the table and used that to prop themselves up. So that way, by the end of the 1980s, they had basically seized all of the property, if not 45 to 50% of all of the black homeowners and properties and all of that we had owned outright was now turned right back over to them. And you niggas call this progress. And so now that devils like Jay-Z and whatever affiliation that he's a part of now wants to make it seem like capitalism is somehow evil, or he's trying to frame it like, well, now that we getting the money. And what you mean we? You don't even like melanated people. You don't rock with us like that. You down with them, buddy. You made that crystal clear. This nigga said, I never exploited anybody. What? Wasn't you a prolific crack dealer? Didn't you string out generations of people on crack and drugs? Oh, well, I told them the story as to the downside of it and what that would be. You never told them not to. But this is what happens when you have a whole society in which is encouraged to listen to what a bunch of actors and rappers and entertainers tell you. No other culture allows their entertainers to be their leaders but melanated people. And that's not even by choice, that's by design. Because every one of them niggas is down with keeping you and I oppressed. Every one of them niggas got a fez in the closet, have denied their true nationality from Messy Jesse on down, all the way back to Michael Luther King, all the way back to the other niggas, right? And they all have benefited off of it, going all the way back to Roosevelt, aka Booker T. Washington, and the rest of them. Did you know that Marcus Garvey was petitioning to get U.S. citizenship prior to him being deported back to Jamaica? Did you know that? While he was telling all of you niggas to go back to Africa and go here and go there, did you know that he was actually applying for U.S. citizenship? Did you know that? Every one of these people they told us is a hero to us and propped up to us was a damn lie. Yes, he was a part of the mechanics. He was a fixer. And he was best friends with Pleckler because they had a racket going for as many of us that was getting denationalized. They could then take those names, give it to the fake Siberians so that way they could be placeholders for our property. Yes. All of these niggas was down with the scam, y'all. All of them. All of them. The only one I think that wasn't was the prophet. Because he the only one that none of us actually heard of until we found him on our own. Then, to top it all off, these niggas launched a rocket to go back to the moon on April 1st. And niggas online is on there acting like that shit is real. You know why they had to do it on April 1st? Because not only do they need a new distraction, they did the polls on it and nobody believes that they actually went to the moon. So they got to go back. To reinforce the lie to all of the slow people who still believe that Armstrong and the rest of them Freemasons did anything but go to a damn film studio with Stanley Kubrick. This is the level of stupidity. You understand? This is the level of stupidity and distraction that we still go. How y'all niggas going to the moon? How you blasting rockets to the moon and you niggas don't even have enough money for gas? Didn't you just tell me that y'all gotta start doing shit for the gas? Where's all of the rocket fuel going for the gas? How y'all got money for that? How y'all got gas money for rockets, but you don't got gas money at the pumps? How does that work? How is that working, y'all? Everything is a damn distraction and it's all falling apart. These niggas is trying to buy up every media outlet, anything, TikTok, anything to keep the narrative going, and nobody cares. Nobody believes them. We don't believe you. You need more people. That's what's going on. It's not enough people believing this crap, yo. It's not enough people believing it. The few people that's the all I see is these little fake NASA pages and these bots out here trying to go back and forth with people who's calling out how bullshit the whole thing is. That's all they doing. It's all closing in on them. They don't have the ability to make the money that they was making because it's over. All of these guys have shown themselves to be nothing but pawns for the game. And that's okay. But what happens is when they're no longer useful, you see, when they're no longer useful for the game, they now have to give up their spot. You understand? They got to give it up. They have to go on the chopping block. You understand? That's why they got to come back out. That's why they got to go and try to do concerts and go to what you call it. Go to Madison Square Garden and go to this place and try to get so many people to get down with it. No. Nobody cares. You're not Kanye. Kanye literally cancel culture. He did a show the other day at the same time they went up into space, allegedly, which is the studio. He did a concert literally on top of the firmament with the waters of the firmament above him, basically showing and proving that the whole shit that they doing is a scam. Look it up. He had 80,000 people in there. Now he about to go to London, and now they hating on him because Starmer, see, the Fabianist and the Fabianist mayor out there is scared that bringing him there is going to send the wrong message. Well, what about all of the women and children that's being raped out there? What about that message? You don't think anything wrong with that? No, they don't. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you. Every president before this nigga Donnie that they tried to get to start this bullshit up told them niggas no. Everyone. And what do they do? What do they do? They get this egomaniac to go along with it. And now look what's happening. It's destroying any momentum that he ever had. Anybody that could have acted like they was on his side. It's over for them now. That's why I told you they be working against themselves because their ego is so out of control that they don't know how to turn it off. And it's the ego that is controlling these governments. It's the bourgeoisie, B. They are all the enemies of the people. And anybody telling you that these people are great businessmen and great this and great that, they are liars. Because these niggas you cannot be a billionaire. Why is it that every billionaire and trillionaire is always caught up with some sort of child situation? Why? Why is that always the case? Not sometimes, not every once in a while. Always. They're always caught up raping, eating something with children. Why is that always the case? A rumor ain't a rumor that don't die. So why is that always the number one thing with these people? Because that is the way to power for them. That is how they're able to maintain the monopoly. That's how, because they don't trust you unless you got some dirt on you. That is the ritual, as you said. If they're not doing that, they're trying to destiny swap you. They're trying to make people believe that whom they are is somehow your essence is somehow predicated upon them or being with them. That their success is somehow connected to your success. And we know that they don't give a damn about your success. They don't even know you. We read in the files, confirmed that he is a counter agent for the black community, there to distract us from rising up with the hip blacks and the hip cars with the white women. But these outlets are still asking questions to this counter agent about the culture. Go and look at that interview. Look at how it goes from white and black to black and white. Like they're already showing you. They always flipping some sort of ritual with you. Look at the pictures of him in the box, of him doing the Velasquez scream. Look that up. They don't have everything they do has to be scripted. Him holding up the mask with the one eye. Like, come on, y'all. You got to still let the white man know that he can still control you niggas through influence. But he don't. Who's still listening to Jay-Z like that? You got cool songs like this, some good songs, no doubt. But come on now. Like we beyond that. Like he said, like we beyond kneeling. Let's go. We not kneeling no more. Exactly. You just never thought it was going to be with the rest of us. They just got a bunch of judges in France that are now being tried under the term the Freemasonic Mafia, because these niggas was doing hits on people's families and their children, and they would do the hits and they would hide in the lodges. You think France the only place they doing that at? Please, they've been doing that. What you think them lodges is for? You know what I'm saying? Like, what you think they for? We saw it in the movie Rosewood. White man commit the ritualistic murder, rape the little girl. The black man hide the white man because he's a Freemason. That's his brother. And then what happened? White people came in, the same white Freemasons that he a part of came in, destroyed, killed the whole town, men, women, and children. Right? Right? But we still need to be down. We still need to support these people, right? No. The Full Disclosure Act is out there. They also got a thing in London that says now if you're a part of any type of Freemasonic society, you got to declare that. You got to let them know, or you're going to lose your pension, lose your job, and might get charged for withholding. Shit switching up. Shit switching up. Yeah, this is what they doing, y'all. People waking up. Niggas is tired of all of the lies, of all of these so-called secret societies and so-called black Greeks and black fraternity. These niggas ain't do nothing, haven't done anything. Matter of fact, look at the epidemic that's happening now in all of these places. Like in Houston, the sexual epidemic that's destroying the so-called blacks and destroying the so-called black communities. Look at where the outbreaks of these things happen, and then cross-reference them to all of the black HCBUs that's in those vicinities. You will find a correlation. You will see the outbreak points take place in where a lot of these so-called black colleges and universities are. Yeah, that came out a couple of years ago. That actually was a artist that did that. The Nike branded picture. They just put that out for some clickbait recently. But yeah, these are the families. All of these families right here you see. And they all warring and trying to kill each other. The Romanovs was wiped out. So why they still a part of the family tree? That's how you know they be lying. I thought you wiped the Romanovs out. I thought there was no Romanovs left. So how they still in there? How you got the Windsors in there when the Windsors are really is really the Coburg Saxe Gotha? Which one is it? They're all liars. They're all working together. Look, this nigga don't do nothing. He always trying to destiny swap with somebody else. Look. He been trying to destiny swap with Basquiat for years. Paint a picture then, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Get some talent. Paint a picture. Paint your next album cover. Do something else that we can marvel at. He about to come out with some whack album to try to sell that. Come on now. And even Basquiat was an implant through Warhol and all of that. Through that whole Studio 54 faction. Even he was an implant. Did you know that he used to go to the 5% meetings? Y'all know that? Yeah, this nigga used to go to 5% meetings. I got it in a book. Yeah. So he knew the black man was God. He knew that. Was that going to stop him from getting money? No. Was that going to stop him from, you know what I'm saying? Being a male prostitute for them? No. But yeah. That's what I mean. Destiny swapping. That's all they could do because they don't have no talent. The talent that they did have is gone. You think if he wasn't catching heat for everything that's been coming out with this nigga, you think he would really be trying to do another album for you niggas right now? Hell no. They did a whole hip hop 50th anniversary. Was he a part of any of it? Any of it? No. 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 Because they all scamming, y'all. It's all a scam. It's all an act. These niggas is actors. They was never anything that they said they was. They always the opposite of what they say they are. Artemis, which is what they named the ship after, right? Is the huntress. Is the huntress goddess. She's also the goddess connected to Sagittarius. What sign is Jay-Z? Sagittarius. Do you see what's going on? Do you see how they playing you? He's a Sag. Just like I told you, they was going to start the war in True Year. In Aries. Who is what? The god of war, right? It's all ritual. None of it is real. The only thing real is our perception of it. How we internalize it. This is the nigga working on the black man that's going up, allegedly going up into space. Look at what's on this. This is who NASA is hiring to help the astronauts. This Baphomet nigga, you see he got the same horns that Artemis got on, who is also Ishtar, who is also Semiramis, who is also Isis. Yeah, you won't even do a show at the Barclays. I was there when they bulldozed all of those black businesses that was all around where the Barclays is now. I used to go, a friend of mine was a colonicist. This elder sister was a colonicist right over there. My man had a barbershop right on that block. There used to be a black bathroom and towel spot right on Empire, right along that line where the old Blockbuster used to be. And all of that. There used to be a movie theater over there. They turned that into an American Apparel shop. And we found out American Apparel was owned by a pedophile. Yeah, because he wants you to believe that he a part of the 5%. That's all they want you to do is believe. Believe that I'm still down. Believe that I'm still with the people. Again, how are you niggas going to the moon and you don't have enough money, you don't have enough gas to put in the pumps? But you got enough gas for rockets? It don't even make sense. How you going to the moon when you niggas said that you lost all the technology that you had to take you to the moon? And why would you go on the moon on April Fool's Day? Why would you do that? Of all the days you could go, why go on April 1st? And I'm supposed to believe y'all? Every image of the moon landing they ever showed us was fake. Every image of the sky that they ever showed you came from NASA, which NASA means to deceive. And you niggas is still out here trying to convince me that these four astronauts, like the Fantastic Four, when they went up to see Galactus in the movie, this is what's happening, right? So what? Galactus gonna come back down and go into New York Harbor and kick Mondami and them niggas out? That's what's gonna happen next. Meanwhile, Lucifer's hand is the one giving these niggas food to go up there. So we got Lucifer right here on the arm, on the hand. We got the symbol of Mercury. We got the alchemical symbol of the Huntress, right? One of the astronauts that they got appeared on Star Trek. One of the astronauts that's up there with them niggas was on Star Trek like 2 months ago. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. This is why they feel they can rule y'all. This is why they feel that they could just always control you and do shit to your children and all of that. This is why. Because niggas will still believe this crap. You will see all of this lies. You will read all of this stuff that Epstein was supplying NASA with money and all this other type of stuff for experiments. But not one of these experiments ever talked about going to the moon nowhere. And these fools always got an excuse why. Always got an excuse why why you don't see no stars in space. You don't see no stars when they're up in space, but you see them when you're on the earth. Like, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on. At some point, we have to accept the fact that everything these niggas done ever told you is a damn lie. Anything that they show you is a lie. Anything they try to express to you is a lie. Once you accept that, we'll all be free. They're all down with it. They all hate us. Look, they didn't even wrote books about this crap, man. Just from a Facebook post I found. They wrote a book about this. There's always a book. Because I told you, the Fabians, that's how they use it. That's how they get you to accept everything. It's called precognitive programming. In this 1974 post-apocalyptic sci-fi novel, Israel largely escaped a nuclear and biological war that devastated the rest of the world. Meanwhile, Texas secedes from the United States, then kidnaps the president. America hires the Israeli mercenaries in nuclear-powered tanks armed with laser Gatling guns to invade Texas and defeat the Ranger militias. It's called Texas 1999. See what I'm saying, y'all? Do you see what I'm saying? The propaganda is real. These niggas been working this shit for as long before we was here, and it will be like this when we're gone. Question is, what do we believe and what are we going to do while we're here? We got to stop giving them our mental energy, y'all. I'm telling you. That's the key. That's how we beat them. Their lies is over. No matter how many platforms they try to buy and do whatever, it's a wrap. Nobody believes them. Everybody knows who the world enemy is. Look, Freemason officers and contract killing gone wrong. Paris court examines the defendants in the Anathor murder plot. Look this up. Then look up the Full Disclosure Act. Over 22, see the number? 22 people are on trial for charges ranging from criminal conspiracy to murder, tied to a network operating out of the Anthor Masonic Lodge. But this week, the hearing focused on something else, the defendants' personalities. Yes, the world is choosing the sides. Everything is now in Iran's favor, all because this idiot decided to follow through with the plans of a dead man. That nigga Netanyahu is dead. No matter how many AI Netanyahus they show you, it don't matter. That nigga is already dead. The Israel government is in shambles. They in shambles. So they trying to go in and move into Lebanon. And then has told this nigga that we're not going to send you any ground troops to help. And you still going to send people there? Those generals that have denied PEGSEF and the rest of these crazy lunatic maniacs are heroes. They're heroes. All of those soldiers should not follow through with what it is that they want them to do, because it doesn't make sense at this point. That's why this nigga look like he about to pass out from a stroke or already had a stroke or whatever. But even if he do go, the Democrats ain't gonna be no better. They're gonna be worse. They're gonna be worse than him. They're gonna be worse, because remember, they all voted to keep their sexual crimes secret just the other day. Jasmine Crockett, OC, the bald-headed chick, all of them agreed, voted to keep that shit secret. So all of them gotta go. Kristi Noem's husband came out as a transvestite. As soon as she got fired, Bondi just got fired. It's all falling apart, man. It can't sustain itself. So we, the people, have to do what we gotta do. Get that book, No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority, that we talked about last week. Go and read that shit, man. Read it. Russia falling apart. China falling apart. Pakistan and India. Pakistan right now is at war with Afghanistan. Did y'all know that? They've been trading bombs. Right now, the small hat nation is being bombed not only by Iran, but by Lebanon and Yemen. Yemen been defeated the U.S. All the propped up UAE states, they're done. Tourism's done. It's over. It's over for all of them. Yeah, I heard that your man Charles was dead too. Heard he died the other day too. But they going Benny Netanyahu that nigga. They going Milikowski that shit. They're gonna make it seem like he's still around. Like this the new stuff, using dead men to keep the war going. It's unsustainable, man. That's why I'm saying the truth exists within between your two ears. You got to understand what it is. You got to know what's real, what's not. You know what I'm saying? They done had a coup d'etat here a few times. Look, at one time, it was the United States, right? Then after that, it became the United States of America. Took the same picture, flipped it over. See? See how it had the red treasury note on it? And they wound up flipping it for the gray one. See? The bank came out the other day, Treasury came out the other day, said that they totally insolvent. So you insolvent, how you sending rockets to the moon? Yeah, if they blow the midterms, then they're going to impeach them. Then they're going to try all of them, Netanyahu and all of them, for war crimes. All of the nations in the world going to get together and go against them for war crimes, for putting everybody in danger. That's why they're trying to create the reach around so that way they can't be prosecuted internationally if he leave office. Then they said, well, you need to send Barron to war if that's the case. Then he said, well, Barron can't go to war because he's too tall. Draft ain't gonna work. None of this stuff gonna work. It's not gonna work, man. It's not gonna work the way that they want. Nothing's working. Nothing's working out, guys. The only way out is capitulation. And if they are to commit, if they are to say that they are wrong, that means if they admit to be wrong about one thing, they have to admit that they're wrong about everything. And the whole massive operation falls on its face. They can't do it. They'd rather destroy the entire world. And we'll just watch it all on YouTube. That's how it's gonna happen. So that's what I mean, man. It's a wash. They don't have a means out of it. They can't escape. They passed the Rubicon, as they say. And it's all their fault. All he had to do was not do what that dirty devil told him to do. And he chose to do the opposite. So now he gotta sit in it. It's over for him. So they dusting off Sean, they dusting off Cardi, they trying to make Gorilla, they trying to bring all of the black Satanists out, all the Boule niggas out to get you to be down with it. Meanwhile, Kanye in his show just shut down all of the space shit. Showing you above the world, there's the firmament. Right? He's standing on top of the dome. Look, he's standing on top of the dome. He done showed you the firmament, which is the waters above, different from the waters below. There go the angels, right? Here he go again. standing on Iran. This is Iran right here. Standing on Iran with the light of the heavens shining down on him in front of 80,000 people out of nowhere. Showing you again, the original man is God, even if he's crazy. So while y'all niggas is looking at these niggas in space, he done brought space to the earth and showed you that the whole shit is a scam. That the only thing is real is the dome we under and the firmament above us. It's excellent. It's excellent. Yeah, all these black slaves, that's all they there to do is help distract you from shit that they know they can't distract you from. So this shows me we winning. You know what I mean? Brought Lauren Hill out. Yeah. With her crazy ass, but brought them out. Tried to get the Pooh Shiesty and yep, indeed, Noble. Brought the Pooh Shiesty and the Gucci thing out to distract you with that. That's not working. Right now, Nebraska's on fire. Iowa's on fire. They bombed the Mossad or whoever done bombed one of the Texas oil refineries to make it harder for all of the oil that we got here to be processed. But we still got all that Venezuela oil. They done let Takashi out. Yeah. They even toted out your boy Umar, trying to show and prove that his school is finally going to come up. Them Africans must have came up off that reparations, started split some of their reparation money with the Pan Africans. Cause they gotta get something popping to get you niggas to go back to sleep, to go back to thinking you came from Africa. So what better way is to get the Prince of Pan Africanism to get together and tell you Negroes in his little indoctrination school through, again, Fabian education practices to mind control you and put you back to sleep. They got to do something. Yeah, look it up. He took pictures in front of a school acting like it's his, at least. Right after the Africans came out trying to claim your reparations for something that they did to you. All these niggas gonna burn in the hellfire, son. All of these niggas, bro. He better get it together because Sukiana done turned up pregnant. And you know he like them conscious strippers. You know he like them conscious strippers, y'all. You know how he get down. Y'all remember that. So, anybody got any questions? Yeah, so the end is not yet. As bad as it's going to get, it's getting better. All of their lies ain't working. The Iranians that made Nipsey a martyr. The oven of Rankai system is basically letting you know that these devils will never listen to anything the Most High is going to tell them. So all we can do is do what we've been doing, telling everybody the truth, moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they wrote Pac on the missile, but they did another thing where they had images of Nipsey. I showed it earlier. They put Pac on the missile, but then they had a whole thing basically saying that Nipsey was a martyr based upon the destruction, based on the propaganda of the Zionists. And they had a whole thing talking about the marathon continues. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they running out of distractions and acts. Nothing that they do is working. So whether it be Ralph Ellison and the IDF and all of these Zio, influencers and all of them. Matter of fact, all of them is suing Israel because they didn't get paid for the propaganda that Israel paid them for. Ain't that crazy? They taking Israel to court to get the money for the propaganda that they was paid to promote that they didn't get paid for because Israel ain't paid them. Because Netanyahu can't, Milikowski can't write the checks. That nigga dead. He can't endorse them checks. He dead. Remember, that nigga went to school in Philly. You understand? This nigga went to school in Philly. So not only is he not Israeli, this nigga went to school with hardcore Philly niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like there was melanated people in his class, in his graduating class, bro. This nigga Milikowski, man. So they got a Philly small hat to go and run the country. Yo, boy, it's crazy. It's crazy out here. Everybody is an actor, man. So yeah, this is how Kanye did it. Jay-Z and the rest of them, they ain't gonna be able to pull the numbers like he pulling. So of course they're gonna get Pepsi or whoever's sponsoring the thing to try to shut him down, try to slow him down or whatever they're gonna do, like they've been doing, you know. But he don't already cracked the game open. Nobody want to see anybody else. Ain't nobody doing nothing good. Ain't nobody winning no more. The game is up. They deporting the Siberians like crazy. That's still going on. They ain't talking about it, but it's happening. Everybody that grew up under these Indian training schools, all these Siberians they brought over here and gave them fake culture, they moving them niggas up out of here too. That's why he's dealing with the birthright citizenship, which we'll get into next week. Because the prophet been laid that out in 1929, 1928, 1913. So we ain't even need to worry about none of that. But we got a whole thing on that. We'll build on next week, inshallah. Anybody have any other questions before we close out? Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, definitely check that out. Yeah, this nigga's up out of here, bro. This nigga is up out of here. So, they don't got too much left. So whoever's running the show now, they main bull is up out of here. So it's all window dressing at this point. You know what I'm saying? Anybody have any other questions? Word. So yeah, so thank you guys again for coming through. I definitely appreciate it. You can pause the joint when I upload it, so that way you can draw the sigil for the dolphin frequency, so you could check it out for yourself. That'll be up soon. Definitely on the app soon. Also, if you have time on April 8th, give me a second. On April 8th, the Queen and I are going to be on Brother King Simon's show. Also, rest in peace to Bob Law. We lost him this week. He was one of the pioneers. I remember I met him a long time ago at Amsterdam News with my pops. Bless the dead. He passed recently. He's one of the pioneers in melanated radio and broadcasting. So, honest to him, he passed away. But yeah, we're about to be on Brother King Simon's show, so you guys can tune in to that possible, inshallah. Yeah, man. Also, if you haven't, please check out www.aseertheducateers.com as well as www.cordobaorganics.com for all your skincare needs. And if you guys ever want to hit me up about anything, you can hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. Also, check out the ADOT app, available now in Google and Apple Play. And yeah, man, anybody else have anything, you just hit me up in the email, like I said, inshallah. All right. Everybody good? Anybody any questions before we close out? Okay, cool, man. I really appreciate you guys for coming through and building. And again, be safe. If you guys have any questions, please hit me up about the video or anything else, at your leisure. But yeah, man, long live the empire. Honest to all of the Moors. Honest to those who have fallen. Honest to those who may, unfortunately. And honest to all of the people, the soldiers that's being forced against their will to go out there and sacrifice themselves for this demon. Give them the power to do what's right, and above all preserve their own lives, because we need them. You know what I'm saying? Nobody needs to be dying for demons that we know are out here trying to sacrifice our own people without giving up anybody of their own. You know what I'm saying? So long live the empire. In ruina Romum mortis pax et amor preconium alut laudibus nobilis magnus gratis mortis. Peace.